I'm trying to get this contraption that we've got for streaming on YouTube and streaming on Facebook is atrocious.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool, though.
It's atrocious. We only have Priscilla's arm.
A little bit this way, Mama.
Oh.
There you go.
Hi. And then I look funny in there.
How y'all doing today? What is up? We figured we would go. We wanted to start going live on for members specifically. We thought that'd be fun. You guys deserve it. Hang out, chit chat, ask questions. You know, I see a lot of you guys' questions in the comments, and unfortunately, I miss a lot of them too.
Yeah.
Because they just get muddled in with everybody else. You know, not that everybody else doesn't matter, but you know what I'm saying.
There's a lot more of you than there are of us.
Yeah. For
we
sure.
want to show that special appreciation to those folks.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're all done.
Yeah,
Did you have a
guys
snack?
gotta
Was it
say,
good?
She got a
Look at
snack.
yourselves. There's this crazy thing going on. It's insane.
We're all done right now, okay?
I feel like you should show behind the scenes.
We are great.
of
What's up,
these things
Dakota
more
and
often.
Christina
Yeah.
and Mel? Yeah,
Yeah,
I need to get
show
behind
people
the
what you
scenes
do.
photo.
So this one is on YouTube, you said? And
Yeah.
this is Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which Facebook is gonna pop up pretty quickly because it goes directly to Facebook.
Right.
This one is a link, so people actually have to click on the link.
Delete, okay. There's
Yeah,
a drink
it's
right
on. There's
there.
nobody on YouTube.
Ah, good.
Yeah, they have to find it first.
Gotcha. So how you doing, Facebook?
Hey Pam.
We're having like a little pool day before Isaiah heads back to camp for the week. I'm gonna make spaghetti before you go.
Yeah.
Great.
Somebody trying to get that massage gun for me too.
Here, look, everybody smile. Okay, a little behind the scenes photo.
So what are you guys doing? How's the weather in Florida? It's finally not raining, thank
Yeah.
goodness.
Thank goodness.
Oh my gosh, it's been raining forever. So it's finally not raining, so we're thankful for that.
Is anywhere else getting? I know, like obviously, you know, Georgia and other Florida and stuff like that are getting some serious weather, but you guys getting lots of rain where you're at, or is it just a Florida thing?
Abby, I'm still in your seat. Don't look so angry. Watch out, Sandy.
Hi, Megan, how are you? Okay, we got a message from somebody?
Yeah, I was replying to somebody on
Okay,
Patreon real quick.
gotcha.
To Reese.
So what questions do you guys have for us? Maybe that we are not able to answer all the time. Maybe you have questions for Isaiah. He's here right now. He'll be
Yeah,
in a
he's
few hours.
headed back like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yep.
Headed back to camp.
Going
Week
back
3.
to camp. How are you enjoying camp?
I love it.
So this is your first year as
Hot
what are you
weather.
considered?
Camp leader.
Camp leader. I keep saying like a supervisor.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's fun because like the support staff too, like I know them because they're my friends and stuff. So it's kind of just like I have the support there, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So the way it works, guys, is like there's support staff, camp leaders, buddies, and the buddies are one-on-one with the campers every day.
Which that's what Isaiah's always done until this summer.
Yeah, and so like I would get a camper at the beginning of the week, and you guys would spend the whole week together doing all the things and having fun, and then the leaders are there to, you know, be more supportive and like keep that third person around and stuff like that. So it's really cool. Like they have a whole setup, and they've been doing it for, I think this is their 40-year anniversary.
Yeah, so 1983 is when Camp I Am Special was established.
Hi Diane.
Hi guys. Oh, we got some YouTubers now.
Yeah.
Asa, can you read the questions? Because I can't
Yeah.
see them.
How often are we live here? I'm a newbie. So the plan, what we wanted to do is
on
go
just a
live
second,
like
okay?
once a week, as much as
Right here.
possible.
That's a drink. Well, you just had a snack, ma'am.
We'll have another one in the bed. I know.
Yeah, we want to go live as much as possible. Hopefully once a week here. We want to, you know, we were thinking about doing some topics like based on what you guys wanted to chat about or questions that you had, that kind of thing. So
How is Abby doing with all the homeschooling? She's been doing great. We're off for summer right now. So right now we're kind of just integrating like our everyday chores and stuff into her life, you know? We're not gonna go anywhere right now though. She's asking to go for a car ride.
Getting antsy.
So right now, like, there's no established like schedule as far as schooling goes. She still does her therapy during the week, and then, like I said, when we're cooking, we'll have her come in the kitchen. When we're doing laundry, you know, just natural activities like that. So, so yeah, so that's kind of what our summer schedule looks like. She's got some trips coming up. Like she's gonna be going to camp eventually and hanging out with the girls a little bit more. So that'll be good for her too, to kind of just have that time. She loves being with the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pam. Yeah, we talked. You know, we took a look at a new vocational program for her, and you know, we were telling them they really liked what we were doing.
Yeah.
You know, and it's much easier for us because it's been a huge. We're super positive on the videos for the most part, but it's also been really challenging to give Abby what she deserves as far as schooling goes, and also do our job. So like, I know that my job, Priscilla could speak on her part, but I know my job has been negatively impacted as far as the attention that I can put into things. You know, because Abigail's education is super important, obviously. Like we have our priorities, but at the same time, we also have other things that we've been neglecting because of it. So,
well, and for me, it's just scheduling times to do things, because it is just Asa and I most of the time. The girls hang out with Abigail in the evening, but during the day, it's super hard. So we have to really work on our schedules together to be able to make it work effectively, and it hasn't been the best for that either. So my job has also been negatively affected, just because I can't do things the way, you know,
Right.
I'm used to doing them. You don't have those hours during the day where...
you don't negatively affect us, Abigail.
No.
It's just an adjustment, I think, honestly. I mean, it's like with anything else, it's a big change in your life, and
Yeah.
you're trying to navigate it and also do right by Abby, you know, and
Well, and a lot of times with adjustments, though, like you can work them
Like
in.
when
We can't really work this into where
right.
it
Right.
benefits
it's not slow and
us and
steady,
her at the
it's
same
literally
time.
all at once, and you're like, okay, now we gotta figure it out.
So what we're doing right now in the summertime has actually been a little better. Like as far as like, I feel like we should have implemented this sooner instead of having as structured of like a school day situation where it's like everything that we do, we bring her on board. Like what you guys see in the videos is real life. So you know, if we go to switch the laundry, she's going to help with that because that works on her pouring skills and you know, actually, you know, pouring liquid and then measuring how much of the scent beads to put in there and transferring things from one spot to another and using the two-hand manipulation. All those things were incorporated into that one little activity, and we've seen a lot of growth in her daily life just because of bringing her in when we're doing stuff around the house. So everything that we do.
I just want to say I think that's cool too, because like, I mean, realistically, in a typical education,
You might have to speak up a little
in
bit.
a typical education situation, like you would want to do that as well. I think, like, yes, structured schooling is, you know, valuable in its own right, but I think that like naturalistic teachings and things like that can be a lot more effective. Because I don't know if it is for Abby necessarily, just because I haven't been around enough, I feel like, for the actual homeschooling period, but there is definitely the whole idea of like, you know, turning off your brain after school. You know, once your school scheduled time is over, you're like, I'm not doing work. Like,
Right.
At least that's how I felt, you know? And so, like, I feel like that translates fine into...
Well, they
special
don't do that at school.
Yeah.
Is a thing. They don't have natural. What you were saying.
Yeah. But
They don't have the environment to do that at school because they're not naturally doing dishes because the dishwasher's full. They're not naturally doing laundry because you know,
Right.
or vacuuming or brushing teeth at a normal time. So,
Right.
any ideas for what you want Abby to work on skills wise for next year. Yeah, we're gonna do a lot of focus on personal care. I know Priscilla's been working on Abigail with that.
Yes.
So
I have. And she's doing really well. Abby, no offense, but your biggest problem is the drive.
right.
She is very much a typical 18-year-old in that she doesn't always want to do it. It's not that she can't do it. So just finding, and how do you find a positive reinforcer, or
I was just gonna say
how
that.
do you like,
What's the value?
right,
Yeah.
like it doesn't
Can't
mean
see it.
anything to her. She's just like, yeah, okay, whatever, this is what I do, you know?
Enjoy your
So-
lunch, Diane.
So
Thanks,
that
Diane.
makes it very difficult because it's not something she's interested in.
Right.
Definitely.
So yeah, the ability is there. It's the level of not being lazy.
Right. I think that's something that everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
So that's a very normal thing. Like, what's your motivation for doing laundry?
I have zero motivation for laundry.
Other than not stinking in dirty
Right?
close, I don't know
Yeah.
that there is much of one. So
And
Because
even
it makes
then,
my
I'm like,
lunch-
I could live with it for a bit. I'm like, well, I'm not
That's
gonna
terrible.
change my shirt now. It's already on me, and then I gotta dirty another shirt.
yeah.
This hair is
What's up,
like-
Catherine?
That's funny.
Did we have other questions up there that we missed on Facebook?
Catherine, are you a wheelchair user based on your emoji?
I love the emoji though. No, on that one.
Big emoji thing.
Right there.
Oh, thank you, Mel. Yeah, she is a rock star. We love her to death.
Yeah. So we've got Isaiah home. He is going to be working on his master's.
Yep.
He just finished his RBT class. So he'll have to take the exam for that and then get his hours.
Yeah. So I have to
It's
do
a
my
whole
competency
thing.
exam, and-
Yeah. It's like a whole thing.
Isaiah looks like he needs a coffee, Jennifer said.
I think he's
have one
working
already.
on one.
I'm working on another soon.
Yeah, camp is exhausting. Oh, she hit it by accident.
Oh,
It's insane, but I also I love it, and it's it may be my last summer being able to do it fully like I want to, so I really want to go all out.
Yeah.
So it's just I don't know, it's worth it to me.
yeah.
So you're gonna be there for a total of 4 weeks.
Yeah.
There's 6
halfway
total
done.
weeks with camp.
I'm halfway done, so
Yeah.
my hair smells good.
Diane asked about,
It's a lot.
she said she's going to South Dakota. Yeah, I know, it's a whole wafting of.
So much.
She asked about South Dakota. She said she's going to South Dakota next weekend if Abby liked it. I think, so there's a photo of Abby laying on my legs.
Yeah.
We're sitting on a cliff overlooking the Badlands. So, yeah,
get
she
comfortable.
liked it. It was such a chill place.
Yeah. It was for sure.
Let me turn this.
Yeah.
What
There
are
we
you
go.
doing for?
There we go.
I'm better.
Oh,
You gonna
yeah?
go jump in?
Go jump in the pool. I dare you.
She won't.
You won't. I bet you won't.
Abby's fine with the rain and thunder. She's good with it.
Doesn't even phase her.
How is educator hunting going? So we were just talking about, we're looking at a day program that's geared towards individuals that are Abigail's age. It's very hard to find someone that can come in and do what we're looking for specifically, just because like a teacher, so that's who it would have to be able to get the Step Up Scholarship. They have to have a teaching certification, K through 12. And the problem is they don't teach these kinds of skills in schools typically. So to find someone that can,
The fish are jumping. Sorry.
I know the fish threw me off for a minute, but to find someone that can effectively do the program that we kind of want to put
Yeah.
in place has been difficult.
Well, and realistically, a K-12 teacher like Abby would be aging out of K-12 right now. Like that would be.
Well, no, because she
She'd
can
be moving
go.
into. No, I'm
she
saying
can
a
go
typical
into-
program like she would be. I mean, she's 18 years old. Like she would be moving towards that, like back at like JSA, for example, like moving into like the vocational program and stuff.
Right.
But even they were not doing like in the home type of skills so much as it was like you know, yeah, they made a bed or here and there and things like that. Like, it's a very different program, so it definitely is hard to find.
Yeah.
A much more personal thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the teacher, with the teacher situation on that, like my view on that is like like Priscilla said, finding someone. Okay, so one problem that we've talked about with all these young people that are in the field is that a lot of the training and education that you receive is catered and focused on young kids.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's including teaching. There isn't like any training on how to work with an adult.
Well,
you know,
Abby
in the
was going
field.
to occupational therapy, and the company I think is amazing for younger kids, maybe for a newly diagnosed child. But they didn't understand how to work with an almost, at the time, 18-year-old. So they're just not equipped, and Abigail doesn't need to sit at a table and do things like that. She needs to be up and moving, and so that's definitely been hard to find those kind of therapists. And that goes for OT. We're so thankful to have our speech therapist. She's been with Abby so long now that she understands it, as well as the ABA program that Abby is in. They understand that Abby's not going to sit at a desk and do table tasks. That's not what we're looking for, but that's something that's evolved. It's not like that program is for every child, right? Like they don't have, so even though the program we love with her current therapy company, but they don't have a lot of older individuals that they work with right now.
Right.
So it's, when your child gets older, you definitely have to find a program that's gonna work to their benefit.
You can't exactly line people up, you know, like, okay, we're gonna pick from this large selection of people for the job. There's also just the complications, logistics of finding people.
Right.
And I think,
So-
I was thinking about it like, you know, the field of like that we're talking about really is growing for sure, I think, in the last like however so many years. However, it also means that like, you know, people come in and they want to work with little kids because little kids are cute and fun and like that's what
Yeah.
they know. And when I go to camp, you know, like everybody hangs out with the little kids the whole time because they're the cute ones. And you know, the old man that's 76 and will have a full conversation with you. You know, he's been through years and years and years of therapies and things like that for sure. So like he gets less attention. But you also have to recognize that, you know, those people need assistance and things as well. So
Yeah,
it
that's
can
a
be-
good point.
It can be hard to find people that want to work with an older population, especially when the field is growing and like an 18 or a, you know, a 20-something-year-old individual is going to want to work with younger kids a lot of times, right?
Yeah.
Younger kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they're just more fun.
Yeah.
Just goofy.
When did you know Abby had autism, and what did you notice in Abby? I know every child is different. My son is 18 months. He seems slightly delayed. He gets OT and a developmental interventionist. They recommend a speech therapist for him as well. He is not talking. His dad has autism, developmental delays. We're still on a waiting list for developmental pediatrician. First of all, kudos to you, Christina, for all this early intervention.
Yeah.
Great job there. That's going to be the biggest impact you can have for children in general. Is just, you know, the quicker and sooner and earlier and all that. It's going to make a big difference.
Yep.
So great job.
Girl.
What do you need? Do you need something?
Great job, Mama.
Yeah.
Seems good.
So we have a whole video on that, and I would recommend going to watch it, not because I'm going to keep my answer short, just because it's going to be more in depth.
Yeah.
So if you look up our channel and then look up early signs of autism, it's easier to search on YouTube for that.
Yeah.
But you can just type in FatheringAutism, early signs of autism. That's going to give you a lot more in depth. But basically, we knew there was developmental delay early on. We weren't quite sure what was going on. We didn't have a word for it. We were very young parents. The only thing we knew about autism was Rain Man. And my stepdad actually was the first one to say you might want to look into autism, and we were like genuinely offended by it.
Yeah.
Like it made us mad because
We're
we're
like,
like, what?
"She's fine."
She's perfect. She still is perfect, by the way. Nothing ever changed, and that's one thing that's super important that we tell parents all the time is getting something on a piece of paper doesn't change the kid. It was the same kid you walked in to the doctor's office with, that same kid you're walking out with. So the diagnosis is just a piece of paper that gives you access to, that gives you more options. It gives you resources. So think of it that way. It definitely helps with the coping side of it as a parent, you know, in that aspect. So, but yeah, there was a lot of things that we noticed. I mean, she was just delayed in general. We didn't understand stimming or behaviors along those lines. And looking back now, we're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
And it was hard because Isaiah, who is Isaiah, did everything early.
Right.
And that's what the doctor kept saying, like, don't compare them. But it's a lot harder.
Yeah, I mean, how could you?
Right. It's a lot harder to diagnose autism in girls than it is boys, because boys typically have like the stereotype traits of autism, and Abby didn't necessarily have those.
Right.
You're a little different.
Yeah, she's a little different. Like, she didn't have the lining up and the playing with the wheels on the cars and you know, those kinds of things. She's never obsessed about like a topic where you see a lot of individuals do that kind of thing. She's never done those things.
And 16 years ago, autism was looked at differently. Like, she's like an old person now when it comes to, like, you know, with the development of things and whatnot. And
well, I mean, at one point
it's changed drastically in the last 16 years. So it was definitely diagnosed differently. The approach to it was different. ABA therapy was vastly different, even just 10 years ago than it is now. There was still a lot more of the, okay, sit at a table and match these colors the entire session.
When Abby was little, we had her in ABA, and we were like, this is not a good fit for her.
Yeah.
Because they just wanted her to sit at a table, and we were dealing with behaviors, and we're like, we need help with behaviors.
Yeah, and she was miserable doing ABA therapy.
So we stopped doing ABA therapy, and that was in our home. We had a person coming into our home, and we're like, this is not working. And it wasn't until many years later that we then were like, okay, now let's try it again. And that's when we found success. So even if your little one is, which, like Asa said, ABA has changed a lot now. And even with you guys like learning things, I feel like the teaching is different.
Absolutely. It's very varied. I mean, like you said, like it was very different back then. And like autism was very different. I mean, in early years, people thought it was like an early manifestation of schizophrenia.
Right.
So like, we've come a long way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's so many, like you were saying, Dad, like a DSM-5 diagnosis does not make your child who they are. Like, they're your child at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And what works for them is what works for them, and what they do is what they do, and no one else. And it's like, you got to recognize that. And like, when you are looking out for your therapies and things, you know, just recognize that maybe things aren't going to work. And we tried horseback riding, and she hated it.
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, don't get discouraged, because the one thing that there's not a cure-all.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, probably. So
Lisa Niddle says, what traits did she exhibit when she was first diagnosed as a female versus the boys? That's a really good question, Lisa. So there were a couple of things. Let's see. Try to remember back with Abigail's, what you would think of now.
Ago.
What would you think? What you would think of now as
well, like I
autism
talked
traits?
about, you know, with being hyper focused on an object or a topic. She never had that. Lining things up, she didn't have that.
Right.
She never like played with toys appropriately. She would literally, you'd hand her a toy and she'd throw it across the room. So that's what our doctor was like, oh no, she has some behavior problems, remember?
Yeah.
And then
She never played with toys. Zero interest
ever
in any kind of toy.
Did she play with things
Ever.
that weren't toys?
No.
Like she does now?
No.
She
No
never did
interaction with
anything.
objects or people, except for when she was hungry.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And then, okay, so then her vocalizations.
Yeah.
One of the first ones that Abigail, your first different vocalization was,
Yeah.
she would do that. It was a vocal stem, and we had no idea what a vocal stem was. We had some head banging in her crib.
Yep.
That was which that's not uncommon either. So, you know, that
But
was
then
that,
when we
didn't
took her
notice
to
it at the time.
daycare, they said the only way they could get her to sleep is they would lay a diaper over her eyes, remember? And we had no idea it was because she was sensitive to like the fluorescent lights.
And to be clear, they tried a blanket, they tried a shirt, they tried other things.
And
Abigail wanted
it was just laid over
an open pamper, like a mask,
I did not know about that.
over her eyes.
That's hilarious.
Yep.
to sleep.
Yeah.
I
And
imagine that
every-
had some visual stem in it, 100%. Because
And
you could see it on the sides.
So remember, she would walk around like this constantly. This was one of her biggest stems, and we always joked that she was waiting for her diamond ring to go on her hand.
Yeah.
And it was a visual stem for her.
Yep, flipping the fingers.
And then everything went in her mouth.
I'm pretty sure she did this before Beyonce. I just want to say.
I feel like
That's
Beyonce
hilarious.
probably got it from her. She would put everything went in her mouth. It literally, our house looked like we lived with a beaver in it because she also has pica, which she still has, but it's definitely gotten better over the years.
Well, she targeted wood back then.
Yes. So our table, our wood
TV
door
stand.
frames, the TV stand.
Window frames.
My parents, we lived in their house at the time, and when they got back, they had to like have all the windowsills.
Remember we flipped the table.
Yeah.
We would spin the table because
Yep.
she would basically like chip
Yeah.
away at the edge and we'd be like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
was
that
tough.
was when she loved wood. And remember, we have pictures of her, like, we would try to take her outside. She'd put all the bark in her mouth.
Yeah.
She would constantly have sand in her mouth. People were freaking out. I'm like, listen, the kids had worse things in her mouth. Like, I'm convinced to this day that's why she has the best immune system ever.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
Because she has, you know.
As far as like social things, I imagine she didn't have like eye contact.
No eye contact at
Did she
all.
respond?
She did
No.
not respond to her name because at first that's what they thought, maybe she was deaf.
Right.
Had tubes put in.
So she had tubes put in because she had fluid in her ears.
What?
Um,
What does that mean?
what are you looking up?
The fish was being weird. I thought it looked like it was
What does
dying.
that mean? Does she still have tubes in her ears?
No, they fall out eventually.
Oh, okay.
But she had tubes in her ears because she,
It really has, Jennifer.
It has what?
The medical field has come a long way.
Oh, for real.
well, and we lived in Florida at the time. So we lived in North Carolina. We moved to Florida. Abby was 6 months old when we moved here. And then about 1 is when we really started noticing like she wasn't making good progress with things.
Yeah.
And then, like Asa said, his dad mentioned it, his stepdad, Dan, mentioned it, and the school, remember? Because we were like, who is this school, this daycare? It was a church daycare that Isaiah went to and Abigail went to, and we're like, they're not professionals in this. Why would they say that to us? And we took her to the medical university in Charleston, South Carolina, and that's where we got her diagnosis.
Well, so Lisa's asking, what point did doctors decide to actually accept you saying that there was something different? So it was just her pediatrician that was like, no, she's fine.
Yeah.
So the point at which he accepted that she had autism was when we came back from
At the medical
University of South Carolina with a diagnosis saying she had autism.
Well, and we went to King's
We
Daughters.
actually switched pediatricians. Is what
Yeah,
we ended up.
we went to King's Daughters in Chesapeake, Virginia first, but they said she was still too young. Possibly autism, but she was still too young to diagnose. I think that was at 18 months. So then we waited a little bit longer, and that's when we took her to the medical university in Charleston.
Right.
Well, and if you look at it too, like I just had to look it up to make sure I was right, but prevalence of autism in 2008-ish, right? That's when y'all were kind of
Yeah.
getting this done. Was like 12 in 1,000.
Wow.
And prevalence of autism nowadays is 1 in 38, 36, something like that. And like more people do not have autism nowadays. There's just higher rate. I mean, I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me on it, okay? But I'm just saying, most likely, we are better at identifying it and, you know, recognizing the signs of things, and doctors are more prepared to
It's the same thing as
establish that diagnosis rather than just tell you that your kid's a little funky. and that
okay.
They don't like lights.
So it is the same thing as ADHD.
Yeah.
So the prevalence of diagnosis increased as every kid on the planet all of a sudden had ADHD.
Yeah.
They're a little hyperactive. They had ADHD. Everybody had ADHD. You get it. It was like Oprah with ADHD,
Right.
and passing out Ritalin. So then it became autism, and you have there are definitely people that are misdiagnosed as having autism.
Right.
Sure.
Have been giving diagnoses that they do not require, need, or match.
But I also think
but
that,
then,
like,
hold on,
oh,
and
sorry,
then
sorry, I get
there's,
excited.
and then you have, you know, learning more and being able to better diagnose, right? And all those things compound, and then you have a higher prevalence of autism. It's just factual that there is more autism in the world today. There are more mental health centers per capita. There are more DSM-5 diagnoses per capita than there were. You know, even though we called everything schizophrenia 60 years ago,
Yeah.
there are more people per capita with mental issues or a DSM-5 diagnosis or a neurological disorder or whatever than there were back then. And you know, we're no health nuts. I don't know if you can tell, but it's because of the crap we put in our bodies. 100%. That's just my opinion on it. You know, you can blame whatever you want, but we've put all of this garbage into our bodies over decades and actually generations. So you have like this generational, you know, pass down of biological makeup and how things have altered what we're made of and how susceptible we are to cancer and diabetes and
This says it's air pollution, low birth weight, and stress. So just get an air purifier and stick it
Abby
in your
was
kid's
not
room.
low birth weight. She was more than you were.
Well,
Yeah.
she was probably stressed out.
Oh,
she
yeah.
was thicker than you was.
Yeah, I would agree with Isaiah too, though, that like people were not diagnosed or they were misdiagnosed with other things. We have some people who, remember our old neighbor, his brother was diagnosed not with autism, but he has like every sign of having autism and he's in his 60s now. But he was diagnosed with something else. And so I agree. I think that some people, they just threw a label on it. Because they didn't know or because they didn't have every exact trait of having autism, and so they wouldn't say, oh, you have autism at that time.
Well, and the checklist, well, and the checks and things on everybody are a lot more controlled nowadays, I imagine too. You know,
Yeah.
like, I doubt, you know, there was some bad history of, you know, people being in like weird institutions that did crazy experiments and like weird places, and like those people probably did not get added to that list. So, you know, the numbers were definitely skewed. Not talking about like 2008, I mean well before that. So yeah, there's definitely like a stigma behind things, and I think like some older generations too have a kind of fear of ostracizing by society and things because of a diagnosis, and that's just a thing that I've seen at least.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have
Yeah,
other questions? Sorry, we kind of go off.
we be talking. Sorry about that.
Brother didn't get diagnosed until he was 17. Now he's 42.
Yeah, and we were actually watching Love on the Spectrum the other night.
Yeah.
And one of the young ladies that was on there said, and she was probably the most mildly autistic person on that show, and she said she didn't get her diagnosis till 9, I think she said, which is pretty old, especially nowadays, because she's in her late 20s, right? I think. So that to me is a lot older. You want to, not that you want your child to have a diagnosis, but you definitely need to get the early intervention. And the insurance companies, they're very strict on what they will cover based on your diagnosis. So there's so many different insurance codes and things like that. I know when Abigail was diagnosed, you know, they would only cover things that was 299.00, and it could be different now. Like I said, this is 16 years ago, but we were like, okay, that's what she has. And that was like the number one question they always asked when we would call to get services for her. What's her diagnosis code? And so that's how I remember that, because that's what it had to be. If it was PDD, NOS, you could not get things covered, which is pervasive development disorder, not otherwise specified. So it could be autism, but they weren't sure.
That's
Abigail
crazy.
had an actual infantile autism diagnosis.
Have you heard of anybody diagnosed with PDD-NOS?
Nope.
In recent years?
No, but I think now because they have the
So there you
different
go. So
levels.
you're just like, we don't know, put them in that bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get no services for PDD-NOS.
And I think now they have the different levels, obviously, like 1, 2, and 3. 3, I
Abby,
think.
are you level 3?
I think it's the most severe. I could be wrong. Maybe you guys know if you have younger kids.
I'm sorry, the leveling of that is so weird.
Yeah. Like
So
when
are you level 3 or level 2 autistic?
Right.
Like, what does that mean?
Yeah. So.
Well, with a lot of the younger generation now, well, actually Abby's age with a lot of people, but they were diagnosed later. That's normal language.
I'm pretty
True.
sure, like
They're just
Braylee
like,
from the
"Oh, I'm
Wee
level 2."
family, she has a level.
She has a level diagnosis.
Yeah.
It
Just
came
I guess I'm just
after.
not familiar with the
Yeah,
term,
it
but that
came
sounds
after
weird to me.
Abigail's diagnosis,
Yeah.
and then of course then you have.
Do you have like a membership
Then
And you
card?
have
no Asperger's
everybody
now.
on that's what I was gonna say was Asperger's. So everybody on the Asperger's list and the Asperger's club was suddenly shifted into autism. So we went from like 1 in 72 to 1 in 58 instantly, which is crazy.
I do think I wanted to ask you, what's your take on that? The removal of the Asperger's
I
diagnosis?
personally think
'Cause-
it hurts people who are on the autism spectrum versus
Okay.
Asperger because
I think it hurts people who were originally diagnosed with Asperger's
Right.
and now are given an autism diagnosis.
right, because honestly, like when you say, "Oh, my child has autism," some people don't understand that Abby's autism looks different than Rain
good
Man,
doctor,
than
you know?
Rain
Yeah.
Man's autism.
Yeah. So whether
what I
you
mean?
like it or not, like terms have definitions attached to them. Like, right? Like you can't say like well, you can't just explain who someone is by autism. No, but it does give you a verbal identifier of something that they may be, dealing with, right?
Like,
so
people
when you
might
say
try to-
Asperger's, you have a certain expectation
I
and
see.
general understanding of what that person, with the challenges they face, the skill set that they have, that kind of thing. When you say autism, it's completely different. Now it's like, oh yeah, my so-and-so has autism, but they're an astrophysicist and,
Right.
and they have 3 children and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, yeah, my daughter has autism, she's nonverbal and she'll live with us the rest of her life. Like it was so much easier when we had, it was easier for people with Asperger's themselves and they had their own thing too.
Well, and it's
and
not
I've
to
spoken
say
to
that,
people
like, it's a
with Asperger's.
competition or anything like that. It's just you need that classification.
It's a
Right,
classification,
right.
yeah.
It's
And
just-
I've spoken to people with Asperger's who are like, yeah, we got our like, this is what we were and who we knew, and they just took it away.
Well, and I feel
Okay.
like, I mean,
That's fair.
they can hold a job and a family. Not that Abigail couldn't, but it's less likely for someone like Abigail
Well, there has
to
to be
do
special
that.
places that, like Biddy and Bows out there, and like things like that have to be put in place for that to occur, versus an individual who's able to socialize typically,
Right.
and become a part of the workforce without major assistance and things like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
Abby, you gonna make me a latte?
Interesting thing. All right, guys. I think we're gonna end it here. I appreciate you hanging out with us. We will jump on next week and hang out with you. Topic for next week. You guys let us know what you want to talk about.
It'll be later in the day though, because you and I are coming back from St. Augustine.
What's up, Andy? Yeah, we'll be coming back from. Well, and we could even do it like on Monday.
Okay,
So yeah.
okay.
But we will do them roughly a week apart from each other and come hang out with you guys. We'd love to do that.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Just chat.
Facebook memberships is a little easier for us to catch it. We have to like reach up, and YouTube just sucks. We have to reach up and scroll. See, I'm seeing Melissa's comment here. So glad that we can help you, Melissa. That's awesome. Hello, Haley.
My son is a level 2.
There you go.
See?
Huh. I really had not heard of that.
Oh yeah,
That's
we are
interesting.
all wearing blue.
Oh,
All
it's
4
funny.
of
I
us.
noticed that earlier. I was like, wow, we're matching.
All
Good on
4
us.
of us are
funny.
wearing a shade of blue. That's hilarious. Did not plan that. So, okay. Yeah, great to see you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. That was a lot of fun. I love
Yeah.
chatting with you guys. We want to have a topic next week, so make sure you comment. You can comment on this live actually, and just what you think a good topic would be, and we can kind of roll through them. And if we don't talk about what you want to talk about next week, then it'll be the week after, that sort of thing. You know what I'm saying?
We can do it like a member
So.
member post or something.
Yeah. I'll do a member post as well, and you guys can comment on that and kind of go from there. This was fun though. This was like intro to autism for maybe a lot of new people that we have here that don't know our story with with our history with and Abigail's history. So, yep.
All right, guys.
And next time we're gonna do inside because it's air conditioned. It's hot.
Have a great rest of your Sunday, guys. Bye.
Wait! Don't say bye. It's awkward because I don't know how to end this thing. How do I? Where do I? I'm not joking. You see this, right?
Oh my gosh.
I know how to finish this one. Bye, Facebook.
Bye, Facebook.
Hi, Facebook.
Hi, YouTube.
Hey.
Have fun painting, Diane. You too, Andy.
So we're just here.
The X up in the
Oh,
right
there's the
corner.
X up here.
It's just hard to
Okay,
see.
got it.